just 2 weeks ago, we started talking about the stages of the revelation of the Holy Qur'an. So that's this part of the outline, which is actually sort of legible, I think. Does anybody remember anything about that? And it's okay if you don't, because it's 2 weeks ago. But I was asked by a few people if I would go back and pick it back up from the beginning, because some people said that they thought it was so much information they'd like to grasp it a little deeper. So hopefully, inshallah, today we will review the 3 stages of the revelation of the Quran, the first and last surahs. And I think that's probably all we will get to today. Then we will move into next week, inshallah, the Meccan and Medinan surahs, and what that means, what those surahs contain. We'll also talk about Asbab an-Nasul, which is the proximate causes or reasons for a particular revelation. Now, for example, this is a whole text. This is actually a college text on reasons and occasions of revelation, Asbab an-Nasul. There are many, many books written like this so that you could actually look up a given verse and it would tell you why that verse was revealed. We'll talk a little bit about that today, but I just wanted to show you one of the books in my library about that. But I'll be giving you a cursory understanding of what that means. We'll then move into the compilation of the Quran, how it was compiled, in greater detail than I have in the past. The beginning of the surahs like Hamim, Yasin, Alif, Lam, Mim, and some of that. The Qur'an, which are 7 accepted pronunciations of the way to pronounce Tajweed. We'll talk about that a little bit. Abrogations, and I'm actually going to address a few abrogations today, inshallah, and then the miraculous nature of the Quran. Once we finish this, then inshallah we will move into the tafsir, but I do want you to know what you have to look forward to. And I had to say it because sometimes I can't even read my writing when it gets cold. So, gradual revelation. If anybody hasn't looked at the board, most scholars say that the revelation was revealed over a period of 23 years. We'll talk about a few differences in that, but that's what the majority teach. The revelations to previous prophets were not gradual like the revelation of the Holy Quran. Okay? It all came to them at one time. Okay? Previous scriptures were given to a particular prophet, like I said, all at once. And this is why the people at the time of the prophet were surprised that the Quran was being revealed piecemeal. In Surah 25 and verse 32, those who disbelieve ask, why is not the Quran revealed all at once? Thus it is sent down in part, so that we may strengthen your heart, and we have revealed it to you gradually in stages. I think this is very, very valuable because basically the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ would teach the companions 5 or 10 verses, and when they implemented those verses, then he taught them more. And what I think is really important is the essence of what's being said here. The Quran strengthens your heart. And if you can establish one practice that I think would be so beneficial that I cannot express it with words, it would be that every single day you read at least one page of Quran. If you can't read a page in Arabic, read it in English. But it strengthens your heart. And you see, I wrote a little blurb for the Islamic Center of Orlando's webpage, I think it's called this week. And I talked about the class, because they asked me to do a blurb about the class. And what I want you to understand is that what ignites your heart, other than the mutual support and the family environment we've tried to create here, is the Quran that I'm teaching you. because everything that I do, I preface it with a verse in the Quran and a hadith to go along with it. That's my methodology of teaching. I do everything I can to give you the proof. And that's really what's strengthening your heart. The fact that you're understanding that empowers you. Does everybody agree with that?
Yes.
So that is your battery charger, is the Quran. And so when you learn verses, you want to begin to say, how can I implement that? How can I use this in my life? How does this apply to my life? Another proof for this fact is that Musa a.s. was given the Torah all at once, as mentioned in the Quran. And because it's 10 verses, I didn't want to do 10 verses on PowerPoint. So for those of you who'd like, you can go back home and you can read that, or it's one of your readings one day, these 10 verses, and you'll learn about how Musa a.s. received the revelation all at one time. So, most of the scholars say that the Quran was revealed in 3 stages. Does anybody remember what the first stage was before I go on? It's okay if you don't. Say it louder, sister. Yeah, Lahu al-Mahfuz. Mahfuz. Okay, there you go. I have to make sure I get the has right. And so you're very good. So you get bonus points today, Sister Nasreen. She's the teacher's pet today. Alhamdulillah. So that is the first stage. Now, when we talk about that, let's just talk a little bit and remind you what that actually means. Because this is really important for you to know this and to know these verses. When you're doing dawah, you're talking to people about Islam, and they ask you about the Quran, these are things that you really want to know. It's also called the preserved tablets, which is with Allah. The Lahu al-Mahfuz is the tablet upon which all the things which will happen from the creation of the heavens and earth until the end of time are written. The Prophet ﷺ said, the first thing Allah created was the pen. He said to it, write. It responded, oh my Lord, and what shall I write? Allah said, write the destiny of all things until the day of judgment. And this is found in Abu Dawud. Oh, sorry about that. Thank you, folks. I'll wake up in a minute. I didn't have any real caffeine this morning, so. And I want to touch on this because when we start talking about the first recitations of Quran, we're going to find that most scholars believe that Iqra Bismillah was the first recited verse to the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. And I'm going to give you some exceptions so that you'll know that when you hear it out there, you'll say, yes, I knew that the scholars say this or that. So you're educated and you don't start arguing with people because those opinions exist. But what I want to point out today, and I want my young people to listen up, because I have some of the brightest young people in the state of Florida in my class. I have extremely bright students, sharp students, very articulate students, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the first thing He created was the, and the first thing He said, I deem by Allah, was read. Iqra, read, right? Or recite. So the two things that I deem by Allah are more important than any human being in the world is the pen and reading. Readers are leaders. And so for a minute, I'm going to step on my soapbox for young people here today. If you want to be a leader in your field, and I was speaking to Muhammad, and I want to congratulate Muhammad in front of everybody because Muhammad went away last week to be on his debate club, and that's why he wasn't with us. And I think that debate is such a great and important thing for young people to do, to learn how to argue in beautiful and excellent ways. And that's what debate's all about. The Prophet said that we speak with beautiful words and eloquent speech. And I was saying to Muhammad today that the best debater he only delivers 10% of his knowledge of a subject. A teacher is supposed to deliver about 10% of their knowledge. Yeah, that's a general rule of thumb. I got to tell you that sometimes I'm giving you about everything I've got. Because I would only wish that it was only 10% of what I know. But I do want you to think about that most scholars, and you're going to see the whole 11 opinions about the first verse that was revealed. There are 11 opinions in Islam, and I'm going to show all of them to you. But I deem by Allah that Iqra Bismillah was the first. Allah knows best. But I do know that over and over and over again, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about the importance of the pen and reading. And if you go to graduate school, any of you who have been to graduate school, all you do is read and write papers, it seems like. You never go to a class that you don't have loads and loads of reading. Most people cannot keep up with the reading, and then you do loads and loads of writing. So reciting, knowledge, reading, education, and writing, the pen. When you go for a job interview, young people, one of the first things they want to know is how good are your communication skills? What do they mean? Can you write somebody a letter and they understand what you're trying to tell them? Can you speak to someone and they understand what you're trying to tell them? So I think it's really, really important to see what this really means when we look at the definition of this in our life. Because you will never excel in your field until you can write about it and you know about it from reading. And I would say to all of you young people, I hope that your goals are at least master's level or PhD bound. Because that will make you the scholar in your field. You want to be in the very top of whatever you're doing. You want to know more than anybody in the world. And what does that do? That means that will make you in demand. Yes, Dr. Hopp?
Besides writing, we should train our brain to remember it too.
Absolutely.
It helps a lot. We don't want to depend only on writing because sometimes we have to train our brain to remember.
Exactly. And there's a beautiful story about some of the companions who memorized so much of the Qur'an. They memorized thousands and thousands of these. As a matter of fact, I'm Tariq would not like me saying this, but I think he's memorized about 4,000 ahadith verbatim. It's actually phenomenal. I've met numerous people that have memorized, and obviously you know he's memorized the whole Quran as well. And so, if you memorize it, you'll never lose it.
Yes.
It will always be in your heart, inshallah. So, you know, mashallah, I can't imagine what it would be like to be an encyclopedia of Quran, to have it memorized in my heart. I just think, you know, Brother Yunus is here and he's Hafiz of Quran, and I mean, I would just give anything in the world to be able to walk around and just recite Quran all the time so that my heart's battery is always charged. But I would just probably cry all the time. So I think that's why Allah did not let me learn Arabic, because the English makes me cry so much that I think because, you know, it's sort of I used to come here at 5:30 in the morning at this school and study with the HIF students. And if I did something and it was right, I would start crying. Because just the sound and what it does to your heart. And so, you know, all these young guys were looking at me like, he needs to be like one of the mental institutions or something. Because I really think that's why Allah did not let me have the Arabic. Because I don't really know if I can handle it. Genuinely, I mean that with all my heart. Because I'm such a crybaby with the English stuff. So, the writing occurred and was preserved on the Lawh al-Mahfuz. Therefore, included in the Lawh al-Mahfuz is the text of the Quran. The method of writing and when it occurred is known only to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The fact that the Quran is written on Lawh al-Mahfuz is mentioned in the Holy Quran. Am I saying that better, brother? But not quite right. Tell us how to say it correctly.
Al-Lawh al-Mahfuz.
Alhamdulillah. That's why I have you here, brother. Okay. Surah 85, verse 21 and 22. Nay, this is indeed a glorious Quran, inscribed in Lawh al-mahfuz. Surah 56, verse 77 and 78. And this is indeed a noble Quran, in a book well guarded. Al-Mahfuz. And we know that, as I've taught you before, and we will do it again. Brother, will you write that in Arabic for me? Because if I see it in Arabic, I can do better.
اللوح المحفوظ.
Yes. I'll try. So this is the direct article al, which means the. Allahu al-mahfuz. Okay, alhamdulillah. Yeah. So I didn't realize it was a shedda there. That's where I was messing up. Once I see it in Arabic, then I can do better. So I'll have to turn around there every time today when I'm saying it. Part of the wisdom of this stage is to prove to the believer the authenticity of Quran, as it was written down even before its revelation, in a place that guarantees its safety. This is also a manifestation of the infinite knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as the al-mahfuz was written on it all the commands and decrees of Allah. In Surah 54, 53, the Quran describes these preserved tablets has everything big and small reserved on it. And this is pretty amazing. So when we talk about this first stage of revelation, where is it?
With Allah.
With Allah. And what is in this? What does it contain?
The Quran.
The Quran.
And
And all
all other.
of the big and small things from the beginning of creation to the end. So it's pretty amazing, right? Okay. So now if somebody asked you what was the first stage of revelation, what would you say?
Allah.
Very good. And if they said, well, what does that mean? And where is it? With the law, right?
Yes.
Alhamdulillah. Okay.
But in Urdu we say that love and mahfuz. Because in the meaning of Arabic, either in Urdu it says love and mahfuz. We preserve it in the love and mahfuz.
Yes. But in the Urdu, in oftentimes is very similar to the Arabic, is slightly different. Yeah. Yes. But the accent is different in Urdu from Arabic. It is different.
Grammar-wise, it is mahfuz means safe.
Safe, exactly. Guarded,
Yes.
secure.
Yes, secure.
Exactly. Okay. Alhamdulillah. So the second stage, from the al-mahfuz, Allah revealed the Quran to the lower heavens in a place called the House of Honor, or Bayt al-Izzah.
You're going to change this.
Thank you, sister. This revelation occurred during Ramadan on the night of decree, Laylat al-Qadr. So when you would say to someone the second stage, you would say Allah has this revelation with him and the decree of everything that was going to happen. And then he took it, he presented it to the lower heavens. When did he do it? Laylat al-Qadr, in which month? Month of Ramadan. These are the things, if I was giving you a multiple choice test, I would want you to know. Okay. And the Laylat al-Qadr is called the, in English?
Night of power.
Did you have a question?
Yeah, I
I'm
do have a
sorry.
question. So the whole Quran was revealed on that night?
Yes, it was brought down to the lower heavens that night, yes. Somebody over here had their hand up, I think. Did I miss somebody? Back here, yes.
Just one little thing that I read in the Tafsir book is that all the sacred books of Allah were revealed in Ramadan.
That is correct. All of the sacred books, the Injil, the Torah, and the Quran were revealed in the month of Ramadan, according to scholars.
Yes. No, I just think it's beautiful. I'm just very happy.
Okay.
I'm just internalizing it all.
Imam, are all the books the same in true form or is Quran revealed separately? I'm a bit confused.
They were revealed separately in the third stage, but they were all revealed to the lower heavens at some point. Allahu Alam is to when. Does that make sense? Did I answer your question? Okay. He said I did. So my wife says I didn't answer your question. So do you want to address it, Durant? Very cheeky today.
See, good jokes. You provided today.
Okay. So, Surah 2, 185, the month of Ramadan is the month in which the Quran was revealed. So, was the Quran actually revealed when it was with Allah in the first stage? No. Because no one had heard it yet.
Right.
But was it with Allah?
Yes.
Yes. Had it been revealed?
No.
No. Very good. When was the revelation brought down to the lower heavens? Right. Was it revealed yet?
No.
No. Very good. I just want to make sure everybody understands where we are here.
I understand. She said she understands. You were like,
Okay. Surah 44 and verse 3. We have sent the Quran down on a blessed night. So it was sent, but where was it sent to?
To heaven.
The lower heavens. Or what is it called? Obey al-Izza. And that's an ayn. That represents an ayn, and I don't do that well. Maybe I would cry if I did. I give up. So now, Surah 97 is another proof. We have sent it down in the night of decree. So now, down makes a lot of sense. We've sent it down to the lower heavens. But if you're not educated by a teacher, if you don't have a teacher, and you read this, what might you think?
down to earth.
That it came down to earth. And I think a lot of things are going to unfold for you today, and next Sunday particularly, how important it is for you to have a teacher. Okay, and I got to tell you folks, genuinely, I know you have a hard time leaving, but I am really like a kindergarten teacher.
No, you are the highest chief teacher.
But you gotta start somewhere.
But you got to start somewhere, that's right. So, these verses specify that the entire Quran was sent down in the month of Ramadan, and specifically on the night of decree. So, all of the holy books were sent down to the lower heavens, but then when they were revealed to the individual prophets, that's a different timing. Everybody understand that? That's the third step. Now, Ibn Abbas said the whole Quran was sent down to the lower heavens on the night of decree. Whenever Allah wished to inspire something from the Quran, He would inspire it. Now what was that? That's a transition statement to go into what stage?
The third.
The third stage. Very good. The third and final stage of revelation was alluded to by Ibn Abbas in the previous slide. In this stage, Jibreel brought those portions of Quran which Allah commanded him to bring. The Quran refers to this revelation in many verses. In Surah 26, verses 192 to 194. And truly this Quran is a revelation from the Lord of the